Hello, everybody, and welcome to HoopsCrush Live. Last week, we were not very prepared, or however long ago it was, but this week, we are more than prepared today, and I'm very excited to talk some basketball with you guys. As always, I'm joined with Eric. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm good, Brady. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good as well. We just got done watching two playoff games. One not so great. The other one obviously was pretty good, and we got quite a bit to talk about today.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff. A couple awards announced. Dame gets hurt. Bucks are out. Lakers are out. A lot of stuff to discuss this stream.
So let's just go ahead and dive in, shall we? So I think the first thing we got to talk about is the future of the Milwaukee Bucks, along with obviously Damian Lillard. I know you and Tori were able to talk about it Monday, obviously, or yeah, it was Monday, right? So once the Dame injury happened, obviously pretty brutal, and it sucks because Damian Lillard is not been dealt a great hand. We all know, of course, that he didn't ever really get a great team around him in Portland. He goes to Milwaukee, and him and Giannis are never really healthy together in the playoffs. And then now he's going to be out for probably the majority of next year, if not the whole season, obviously. And then who knows what happens with him after that. He'll have the player option. Would he? I mean, I would assume he'd accept the player option at that point, but maybe he'd rather ring chase somewhere if Milwaukee's not in a good position. So that would be kind of an interesting decision down the road. But and then the way the Bucks just collapsed, because like, don't get me wrong, they weren't gonna go far in the playoffs even if they win Game 5. But the fact that they lost the way they did was just, you can't even put it into words. It was so brutal to watch, and it's just insane that it ended that way.
Oh, I can put it into two words.
Doc Rivers.
Doc
Yeah,
Rivers.
I knew
There
you
you
were gonna
go.
say that.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, how much more evidence do you need that this guy just, whether it's blowing a 3-1 series lead or whatever it is, up 7 with 40 seconds left. Man, it, it's quite a common occurrence when it comes to Doc Rivers. It just seems like he's always on the sideline when stuff like that happens. And if it wasn't for him being the coach of a team that acquired Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen in the same offseason to pair with Rajon Rondo and Paul Pierce and all that, I don't know if we're ever like he has that ultimate card he could play that he won a championship, so you can't take that away from him. But outside of that run with those teams, what has this guy done?
Oh, of course. So this always seems to happen when we're doing this stream through what's it called? Collab Cam. He's back, so let me get him back in. I don't know why it always does this to me, but we should be able to get him back here. Sorry. He's back. He's back. All right, keep going. Sorry. I don't know why Collab Cam does that to us all the time.
I don't know where I got cut off, but I was just saying, outside of winning a championship with a loaded Celtics team, he just happened to be the coach when they acquired Garnett and Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, Paul Pierce, all those guys. Outside of that, what has this guy done as a coach that gives anyone confidence in him that he just will not let it run down his leg when it matters? And you hear all these reports about how ownership wanted him. Their owner is Jimmy Haslam, who also owns the Cleveland Browns, another messy franchise. And, they trade for Deshaun Watson and all that kind of stuff. And
Are we just gonna do that all night? We're just gonna crash all night, I guess? That doesn't sound like, we might have to switch to something other than Clapcam going forward if it's gonna do this every single time. But to build on that, I mean, it's gonna be interesting if the Bucks even decide to keep Doc Rivers. And I know some people I seen someone say that Dame would turn down 63 million after the injury. Yeah, I wasn't trying to reiterate. I wasn't trying to say that he would. I literally only said that because Funny enough, when I did my Bucks video today, he did decline the player option, which was weird to me. Like I said, it would have to be it. There's like 99% chance he's taking that, obviously, with him being injured. But like I don't know, 2K was like he's declining it. I'm like that doesn't make any sense, but he did. So I don't know why he did, but he did. It's 2K, so like he's not gonna do that in real life more than likely. But that's the only reason why I said that.
Yeah, no chance he gives up $60 million.
I know 2K. When I was doing the video, 2K, it had him decline it. I was like, why would he do that? And then someone commented, I guess if he didn't want to waste a year in ring chase, like that would be the only way. But even then, that's still a big stretch. Like that's just.
Yeah, I think because he's out next year, and so he'd be going into that player option coming off sitting out a year. I don't think he's giving up $63 million.
All right, so I'm gonna turn up. Tell me if my mic gets louder, because I know you guys were talking about last time how it was kind of quiet. So if you guys can let me know if this is too loud, but I remember you guys saying last time that my mic was really quiet compared to Eric, so I don't know. Hopefully this is better. Just let me know if it is or not, or if it's too much. I'll have to remember to turn this down when I do a video. But besides that, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the big question, obviously. What happens with him this offseason? It almost seems like the writing is probably on the wall that it doesn't really make sense for him to stay in Milwaukee with where they're at right now and what assets they have left and where the roster currently is, and Dame being out. I would have to imagine that. And I'm sure you maybe are in the same boat, but I don't know. Do you think Giannis is gone this offseason?
I think he probably is. The issue is, though, I mean, Milwaukee doesn't control any of their own picks until 2031 at this point. So even if you get a haul for him, like how are you fixing this situation when you don't control any of your picks? Now maybe the solution is to somehow factor in teams that own some of your picks or the rights to some of your swaps or whatever. People are saying it's a little loud now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting mixed signals, so I have no idea what to turn this to right now. We just have way different microphones, so it's going to be a little bit of a process to get it on the same page. Yeah. But I'm going to keep trying.
But for me, I almost, because of that, unless you make a trade where you get so many assets that it kind of overrides that, I almost feel like you have to try to make it work with them. But the problem is you got a player who's not going to help at all in Dame next year, making, a third of the cap. And so like whatever moves you make, you're not going to be able to really do that much to change the team around him. So you're basically going into it hoping he goes super mode and carries the team to the playoffs by himself. You're not going to win a championship that way. So the only way I could see it working is if you keep them both and kind of just recognize that you're going to make moves that'll help you, everything in mind 2 years from now. But giving up a season of Giannis when he's 30 years old seems kind of stupid too. So yeah, maybe you just come back to just move on, better for everyone, and they just have to suck it up for a few years without any of their picks. So just try to make a trade. Now that's where it gets interesting for us as Blazer fans, because we own 3 of their picks or rights to swap with 3 of their picks. So if they are looking to make a move where they get some of their assets back, kind of like what Brooklyn did this last offseason, do they trade Giannis with a team like us so they can get stuff back? Or do you kind of make another move, just take the best offer, and then try to do what Brooklyn did, and that's trade maybe a few extra picks just to get your picks back so you can take properly. That I don't really know what the solution is there, but I don't know. It seems like it would be a good move to get your picks back, but at the same time, I don't know if like Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton and getting their 3 picks back is going to be a better offer than they can get asset wise from other teams.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think there's a ton of teams that make sense for Giannis. It's gonna have to be like, for instance, I think of the Oklahoma City Thunder in a way, but to me, does that make sense? And I think it's all going to depend on if they get eliminated. If they, would maybe make a move for him, and what does that look like? Does Jalen Williams or is Chet part of that trade, or is it maybe outside parties or different players in that trade? And then obviously Houston was down 3-1. They get game 5, and now we got a game 6 on our hands. But I think Houston makes a ton of sense because they're in the ball. They seem like a team that wants to be aggressive. Memphis, like, is there a John Morant thing? But again, it all comes back to that Milwaukee does not have their draft picks, so it's tough. And then you could draw and I think you mentioned this yesterday, or you were Monday, that a Zion and all their picks back thing, like that could maybe be something. But is that what the Bucks would want to do? And then I've seen speculation is Giannis even going to, like, Giannis is going to have to be the one to request out, and the Bucks aren't going to do it on their own. So is Giannis going to do that? It's going to be interesting to watch for sure, and there's going to be a ton of teams lined up for him. It goes without saying. One thing I wanted to say about this Bucks and Pacers series, and this was before Damian Lillard got hurt, and it almost kind of ended in the same kind of way that, I don't know, I might be the only one that thought this, but this Bucks and Pacers series was somewhat reminding me of the Thunder and Blazers series back in 2019 because of all the banter and trash talk that was happening, and just like that, the fact there was so much pressure. Well, the Thunder didn't have like a ton of pressure necessarily because like no one knew they were going to rebuild in the offseason technically, but they obviously still did, and now it feels like maybe Halliburton's game winner might be sending the Bucks into rebuild mode in a way, which is why it was kind of reminding me of that series, just because of all the trash talk that's been talked about. But I was mainly thinking that before Dame got hurt, and it's unfortunate that it happened. I would have loved to have seen. I know Dame wasn't playing great by any means, but obviously coming back from an injury is tough like that. And he gave it all he had, and it's unfortunate that it ended that way, and we'll just have to see what the Bucks do. It's going to be tough to put any kind of good roster around him, and we'll see.
And so Crushballs has a like you mentioned, a rebuild on his YouTube channel. Go check that out after the stream or whenever you have time. We also did one on the Heat, and I'm assuming after tonight you have a Lakers one in the works for the next couple days.
Yeah, Magic and Lakers definitely on the list after they've been eliminated. So
yeah,
those will be coming for sure.
Nice. So look for those over on his channel. Man, I felt so bad for Dame though. It's like you finally get cleared to play. You're out there. You're not obviously in the best conditioning, but you're trying your best, and to have that just snap after coming back, man, that's tough.
Very tough.
Especially when it's an injury that'll keep you out a full year. So, man, doesn't have a lot of good years left, even without the injury. So to take one of those away at this point of career is really devastating. And hopefully he can come back and still be an effective player. But yeah, it's one of those situations where we've probably seen the last of Dame being like even like a fringe all-star type player. He's probably going to be more of a, I'm sure he'll still have his moments and stuff like that. It's just hard to imagine him coming back and being taking over games or or doing a whole lot. But man, it's tough to see such a legendary Blazer player kind of finish off his career this way. Hopefully he has some sort of redemption story or title that he contributes to as a rotation player down the line. So his career can end on a positive note. But to just not have a chance to compete again this year for various reasons, it's tough to watch, man.
Obviously, the dream one day is for Dame. Well, maybe not for everybody, but for most people that appreciate Damian Lillard, that the dream would be for him to come back and we're a contender at that point. And we'll see if that ends up being the case. You know, the sucky part as well about them losing in Game 5 is they wasted a generational Gary Trent game. He was phenomenal. Like, just could not miss. And then, of course, he causes the 2 turnovers on the stretch. Yeah. And so no one's going to remember it anymore. But, yeah, he was awesome, man. So, unfortunately, Bucks season's over. The Pacers, which we'll talk about the playoffs as we keep going. But Are you ready to move on to the next thing?
Well, I don't know if you have the graphic for it, but I did find it interesting that BetUS had the odds for Brook Lopez's next team.
Oh, no, I didn't get that. So,
yeah, he's a free agent. And the favorites, did you see the favorites too for what team he'll be on?
I have not.
Game 1 next season. It's the Los Angeles Lakers.
Of course it is.
Yeah, right?
I mean, maybe off the bench, but if that's their solution as a starter, that's not a great idea.
Yeah. So for me, yeah. Okay. Actually, this is so it's I kind of got that a little wrong. So it's Los Angeles Lakers starting center for Game 1, and Brook Lopez is the favorite for that. Kind of the same thing, but
yeah.
So Nick Claxton is 2 on that list. Clint Capella 3. And any 2025 draft pick is 4. Derek Lively's 5. Like the Lakers and Mavs are going to make another trade and they're going to get Lively. Wow.
Nico Harrison effect, I guess. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
So, yeah. Jackson Hayes is on this list after him not playing in the playoffs. That seems like a waste of money.
Right.
But we had, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Mark Williams after the game tonight sent out a tweet with a smiley face on it. And the Lakers, they got kind of, I mean, this is their own doing because they're the ones that like declined the trade or failed the physical for Mark Williams after giving up way too much for him. But they make the trade for Luka, and they really didn't have a ton of time to build the team catered around Luka and LeBron. Now they're still such great players that they were able to kind of make it work somewhat, but they have definite needs. They need some shooting, obviously, and they need some bigs that lob threats, some players that can get it done around the rim. And if that player is a little bit switchable on defense too, that would be ideal, I think, for them. But Brook Lopez is not it. He's not that guy. Nick Claxton would be interesting if they could get him. Capella's probably a guy, he's a free agent, so it's probably a guy they could realistically get for maybe even like a minimum contract or something. So that might be one of their centers. I don't know if they'll be their starting center, but maybe their backup next year. I definitely think that's a realistic possibility. Yeah, I don't think there's any chance they're getting Lively.
No.
Walker Kessler, if Utah's kind of down on the way his season went and they're willing to give up that 2031 first for him, I could definitely see that. He's kind of, I guess, I mean, he's better than what they have now, but still, in my opinion, not quite the right type of center that they need. Um, and then Miles Turner is also a free agent, but you got to expect him to be a little too expensive for them to be able to get. Maybe they work out a sign and trade, but I don't know. They don't really have much to sign and trade that the Pacers would be interested in unless they're willing to give up Reeves or something like that, which up until this point they haven't been willing to do. But they definitely need some sort of lob threat, rim running, switchable center, in my opinion, in order to make this work a little bit better.
Yeah, Brook Lopez is far from the answer, and I really hope I'm sure that's not what Rob Pelinka's idea will be. Claxton would be awesome for them, and he's on a decent contract where they could definitely get to his salary pretty easily.
Yeah.
And then Capella on a minimum makes sense, or whatever they have to offer in free agency if he gets more than that. I don't even know where their money situation is right now. So yeah, we'll see what the Lakers do, but we'll get into it a little bit further because I have the score here in just a second, but they need a big. They need size really badly because when Gobert is dropping as many points as he did to you on tonight, and then just getting absolutely demolished on the offensive glass tonight as well, they need a big in the worst way possible. And I think most people, so I'm not the only one that thought this, but my friend that's a Lakers fan, I told him I don't think this will be the Lakers year because not having anybody, no, they don't have a good center, and that ended up being their downfall. Now they wouldn't have had to play Jokic in round 2, but I know they had a couple games defending Jokic nicely. But I mean, imagine what Jokic could have done to them in the playoffs with what Gobert was doing. So
yeah,
it's So a big is desperately needed for the Lakers in the worst way possible.
I mean,
Go ahead.
They clearly tonight wanted, if they were going to lose, they dared Gobert to beat them, and he absolutely did. Whether it was getting offensive rebounds or slipping screens and just hanging out around the rim, getting open dunks, they did not really have any attention given towards him, and it came back to bite him today.
Yeah, I chose Lakers in 7 when we did our playoff predictions, but I don't think I've been more happy to be wrong because at the end of the day, I'm mostly a Lakers hater, mostly because we all know why they're fans and how spoiled the Lakers are with how much the media covers them and every single free agent's going to LA or whatever. We all know why. But it does suck because Luka Doncic is one of my favorite players, so him being there is weird for me now. But I'm still happy to see them lose, and I'm glad to be wrong about Minnesota. And I think Minnesota, and then I hope it's Golden State, as Eric left us again. But I think Golden State and Minnesota would be a very fun series, honestly. So hopefully the Warriors are able to close out the Rockets. I know some people don't want to see that, but that's what I'm hoping to see, honestly. In the future, we might have to use something different because that's probably gonna keep happening. That used to happen when we would record videos too. You would just
just edit it out.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that.
Yeah. As for Luka, it's weird too because screw the Lakers. Absolutely hate the Lakers, but I also kind of want Luka to stick it to the Mavs for trading him,
Me too.
And not that it kind of sucks for Mavs fans if that happens, but that's the only thing that kind of gives me pause is like I really want him to prove how stupid the Lakers or the Mavericks front office was. But yeah, so Bouquets in chat says the series is Nico Harrison's redemption arc. No, it wasn't. no, it wasn't. We'll see what happens in the future, but like we just got done talking about, the Lakers didn't have a full offseason or anything to start building the team. Nico had several seasons to try and build around Luka, and he was doing a fairly
Yeah, he
decent
was. He was
job
doing a great
until
job.
yeah. So it's just weird that he just all of a sudden scrapped it after giving up all their assets to try and build around someone. Um, it's kind of like what we're talking about with the Bucks. It's like, you for years you've tried to make teams around him, but at least with the Bucks they won a championship.
Yeah,
But
they will always have that at the very least.
mhm.
But speaking of Nico Harrison, are you ready to talk about this next thing?
Yeah, so you are the perfect person to ask this question to, in my opinion,
Okay.
because obviously on your channel you focus on a lot of rebuilds and stuff like that. So you're always kind of thinking of like what each team should do, right?
Yeah,
And
I like to think so.
yeah, and so Nico Harrison in his exit interview said something about the fan base. He kind of backtracked a little bit, but he basically said that he kind of underrated what Luka meant to the fan base. And then he tried to like say that's not what he said, but then he kind of then said it again after that. He understood how important he was, but he didn't think it was that that important. Stuff like that. So my question to you, and I want to get everyone in chat's opinion as well. If you're a GM of a team and you have a beloved franchise player, I think a lot of us outside of our resident Dame hater Ramon in chat, I think a lot of us can relate to this with the Dame saga and things like that. But if you are a front office, considering a trade of like a guy like Luka Doncic, how much should you factor in that this guy is like your franchise and like you know most of your jersey sales and people wearing jerseys at the arena are of him. Like everyone loves him. He's your guy. You drafted him. He's been an all NBA player for years. He took you to the finals last year. Um, like, should that weigh in when you do want to trade something, or should you just ignore everyone like Nico Harrison did and just do what you think is best for the team, and just say screw the fans? We don't care if they like a player or not. We're just gonna trade him. Like, do you have any idea what you would do, like if you were kind of in that situation?
So I think it depends on circumstance. So obviously in this circumstance, it made no sense to do, and it will continue to make no sense. But maybe, and Luka's not a good example because he's 25 years old. But maybe say you have a superstar that means the world to your team, and he's everything. Like let's for example say Luka was 28 or 29, and they continue to not win a championship and fail, and they're ready to make a different move, and that could be justifiable. But you also need to get a good return. You can't just trade him for what you did, because that's going to raise even more backlash. Now, again, even Luka was traded for what he was traded for, and it would suck, and I think Mavericks fans would be pissed about it because he's 25. But what if they had gotten like a really damn good haul for him? How different would it have been from the Mavericks' reaction? Like, would that have changed anything? I don't know if it would have changed much, but at least would have felt a little bit better that you got like a lot in return to build something out in a way. But instead, they didn't get a lot, which is why I think added on to the outrage. Again, Anthony Davis is no penny or anything, and he's a damn good player, but we all know the age difference. So I think it depends on circumstance. You absolutely should take, how much a player means to you, obviously. So like, I mean, we could talk about Damian Lillard. You could make the argument that it may have been smarter for them to trade Damian Lillard earlier in his career, if they never planned on doing something with him. But it obviously would have broken everyone's hearts. So it would be a tough position to be in. I won't lie, obviously, and I think there's ways to go about it. I think the way, obviously, the Blazers front office handled the situation where they wanted to make him the bad guy was pretty not the right way to go about it. The return has been decent. So that's good, but there's circumstances and ways to go about it. And obviously Nico, not great ways. And then I think Joe Cronin in the front office, they could have done it a little bit more less messy. And I think people would understand that a little bit more. But it got so messy and over dramatic that it was not even necessary for that to happen. So
Well, Nico's wasn't messy at all. He just traded
yeah,
him in the middle of
I
the
guess
night.
he just did it in the middle of the night. So I'll give
Yeah.
respect for that in a way to where no one knew it was happening and there was no drama behind it, but you still didn't get a good return for him. Again, I'm not trying to disrespect Anthony Davis, but we all know, like, Luka Doncic is 25, Anthony Davis 33, 34, or whatever, how old ever Anthony Davis is. I forget for some reason it's on my head. But yeah. So I think it depends on circumstance.
Yeah, like if Dallas would have traded him for Anthony Edwards or something, which I think they tried to do, but like if they get someone like that, then maybe you're saying, okay, I can see why you did it. But to get, I think it's 31, to get that and a player who's been injured most of his career, man, that's crazy. And tying this all back to the original question, it's like, how did you not know what he meant to your franchise? And like, I mean, there's hardly any, like, I know at some point there was a very vocal minority that wanted Dame gone, were happy when he was traded, had turned on Dame, all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
But like, even if you think Luka was like out of shape and didn't play defense or whatever, he was still like your guy, right? If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan. And like, I don't think there was, I never saw, maybe it's just because I wasn't looking, but I barely saw anything in terms of like negative stuff about Luka in terms of Dallas fans. So in my opinion, like, you have to kind of think about that, especially when you've just given up all your assets to build the team around someone. It just, because that signifies to your fan base that you're in it with him, right, for the long haul. So to just pull that out from under your fans, I do think so like you mentioned, if you get like a no, like if someone calls, like if you're the Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder offer you like 47 first round picks for Wemby or something like that, like maybe you think about doing it, right? Like you probably don't still, but like maybe you think about it, right? Like, so if you get a call for Luka and it's a no brainer, like, but like I said, you didn't even get Reeves and both their first. Like, you only got one first. Like, I cannot believe that. And so, to do it, like, to not only trade the dude, but then to not like set yourself up to have this absolute treasure trove of assets like the Thunder did when they traded Paul George. Like, how do you not even get close to that kind of return on it? Like, it makes no sense, man. And so now you're stuck on a team with your best two players who are really freaking good when they're healthy, and Kyrie and Anthony Davis. But like, with Kyrie, who the heck knows what he's going to do? He could, for all we know, he's going to opt out of his contract and go sign somewhere else.
He was
right?
at the Lakers game. He might go to the
Yeah.
Lakers. No, I'm just kidding. But.
Right. So like, if he leaves, they're screwed. He could resign, but he's not been the most dependable player in terms of dedication to a franchise or someone you want to like build your whole franchise around. And then Anthony Davis has been, he was somewhat loyal for several years to New Orleans and then wanted out, and he's been loyal to the Lakers ever since. But he's also someone that you can't depend on to get through a full season. So man, like, do you go all in and try to get KD into that picture too? And then you're looking a lot like Brooklyn, and that's probably not going to work either. It's weird. I will always believe that their best route, and they got close last year, would have been to keep tinkering and keep adding pieces around Luka and try to make it better. But just like I still want to see all these. I just want to see, like, the Dave's not a winner stuff, and Clyde got to the finals twice. I was alive. I watched all those playoff runs and stuff. Dude, if Dame had the level of talent around him that Clyde had on those teams, I don't think we're talking about him the same way. So, I mean, we're talking about players that there were several players on those Blazer teams that made All-Star teams, and so it's just it's crazy to me that you look at a team where for what 6 of Dame's playoff seasons out of the 8 here in Portland, his second best player was CJ McCollum. Like, he was a decent player, but that's like all he had was CJ McCollum as the second best player. Like, it's frustrating to me that then you see all these arguments about, like, well, see, he's not a winner. But the dude made it to a Western Conference Finals with Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless as the starting forwards, and Enes Kanter at center. Like, I mean, come on, people. Like, what? How can you even judge him based on, like, if I don't know if he wins 4 championships, but if you switch him and Steph and with the exact same teams and coaching and all that kind of stuff, I think he's probably getting 1 or close to 1. Like, I really believe that.
Yeah, I agree, because they would have had Dame moving just like Steph, if I had to guess. So it would have been nice, and if we ever had a great team around him, and we'll never know. But back to Nico, what doesn't make sense is, like we mentioned earlier, Nico was doing a damn good job of building around Luka Doncic. There was years where there was struggle, where the Maverick, like all these reports or rumors that the Mavericks may lose Luka Doncic because they're not doing a good job, and then they started making all these awesome moves, bringing in Kyrie, which was a big risk. It worked out. Bring in Washington and Gafford the deadline. Draft Derek Lively. I mean, they were doing a great job, and then make it to the finals, and just to give up on it was very weird and bizarre. And we'll just never know what Nico was thinking. And I don't also understand why the owners were willing to sign off on that too. It just very weird, man. Very, very weird. And I don't think we're ever going to see something very close to what we saw this trade deadline with Luka Doncic and the Mavericks and Lakers. It was just pretty crazy.
I still don't believe that tweet. I've watched Luka play in a Laker jersey. I still have trouble that was actually a real tweet, man.
Yeah, it's insane. We've talked about it enough, though. I think everyone gets the point that that trade is just going to be one of the worst trades in history. I know some people still like to think Dallas made out of it well. I don't agree, but everyone has their own opinion, of course. Are you ready to get to the playoff games for tonight?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, obviously, the Warriors and Rockets game was not very entertaining at all, really. It was kind of a blowout for the most part. The reserves kind of made it interesting at the end, funny enough, but it wasn't really enough. And we are going to a game 6. And I would fully expect the Warriors to have a much better bounce back game, because this was kind of an embarrassing showing. I don't know if they thought the Rockets were just going to roll over and die. Ahmed Thompson had a and one where he yelled at Gary Payton's face at the beginning of the game. That was pretty funny. So, yeah, not a whole lot to talk about from this game. I mean, I don't know if you have much to add, but
Well, much like Steve Kerr, who seemingly pulled the plug early in the third quarter and just gave up on this game, even though the Warriors made it interesting, cutting it to 13 at one point.
Yeah.
Um, it it just seemed like they were okay with giving this game away and just focusing on probably putting all their attention to Game 6. That's a dangerous game to play, though. We'll see if that comes back to bite them. But head back home if you get Game 6 at home. Series is over, so you don't get it though, and all of a sudden, Game 7, anything can happen. So we'll see if the Warriors choke. Are you hoping for the Rockets to come back?
No, I'm hoping to see the Warriors in the second round. I think
Mhm.
Warriors and Timberwolves sound so much fun. I feel like there'd be a lot of physicality in that series, and I want it. I wanted Lakers Warriors obviously to see Steph and LeBron go at it for another series before they're done, but not gonna happen anymore. Maybe happens next year because we assume LeBron will play one more year, but I guess he's probably gonna. I don't know if he said anything in the media yet. I haven't looked at Twitter. I don't know if he said anything about like I don't know if I'm playing next year or whatever, like he did last time. But I'm hoping I'm expecting the Warriors to win Game 6, but we'll see. We shall see. But again, this game was not very good, so not a whole lot. The playoffs have been fun for the most part, but we've gotten a few of these for sure.
Nice to see a man have a good game. Talking some trash to GP2 as well.
That was funny.
Got to respect that.
Yeah, definitely gotta respect that. Let's go to the better game though for the night. Wolves and Lakers was a ton of fun. I think obviously the theme of this game is that the Timberwolves absolutely dominated the glass. And if this team would have had a better shooting night, this game probably wouldn't even been close. They couldn't really knock down any threes tonight. If they would have been their game 1 form, this game would have been a blowout and the Lakers would be going home sad. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way because the Timberwolves couldn't make a freaking open shot because the Timberwolves had plenty of opportunities. And then when Rudy Gobert drops 27 on you, that's usually not a great sign. Not a great sign because Gobert is not known for his offense, as we all know. But there were so many offensive rebounds, so many tip-ins, so many just open cuts to the basket. The Lakers had no answer. And I saw some Lakers fans upset that JJ Redick didn't even try to put Jackson Hayes in the game, but he's obviously been abysmal, which is why he wasn't playing. I get it. They need some size. They even tried Maxi Kleber out there for a second, which I thought was kind of interesting considering this was his first game back since January in an elimination game. I thought that was kind of an interesting decision. But the Lakers go home and the Timberwolves move on. And they also did this with Anthony Edwards not having a great game either. He was kind of non-existent for the most part tonight. I know he got some assists and rebounds and all that, but again, the Timberwolves were just absolutely dominating the glass. And then Julius Randle has been someone that's had a reputation of not being a great playoff performer, and he's been pretty good so far through these playoffs for the Timberwolves. So I think credit is deserved to what Randle's been able to do lately.
Yeah, he's kind of having I don't know what the right word is. Redemption might not be the right word, but he's showing people that because he's been much maligned for being kind of a playoff choker, or for lack of a better word. And yeah, he's really had some good moments. Man, there was a couple times in the post tonight where he just took it right at someone like Vanderbilt and got a bucket in the key situation, and it's just it that trade is always going to be weird because everyone seems to forget the Timberwolves did not particularly play well this season. I mean, they had some stretches where they did, but overall, they did not look like this for much of the season. And they're obviously showing the ability to turn it on in the playoffs, and this was obviously a bad matchup for the Lakers too. But man, they're scary, man, because Anthony Edwards doesn't even play that well tonight in terms of
Hmm.
shooting, and obviously it was terrible from 3, 0 for 11, and but like they still win in LA, and so, but I mean, we've seen games, the last game in this series where he just completely carries them too. So, man, after last year and this year, I mean, I think you gotta say that the Timberwolves could do anything in these playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they won it all with
Yeah,
Anthony
I agree.
Edwards. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose next round. Like I just I don't know, man. Like this seems like a team that has a very wide variance of what could happen, and most of that has to do with I don't know. I just feel like at times Anthony Edwards can just completely take over and will his team to victory.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Again, I chose the Lakers to win because I thought that's what would happen. But the Timberwolves are one of those teams that, just like you said, I have no idea what's going to happen. I could see them. You put it in the best words I possibly could have. I could see them going to win it all. I could see them getting beaten next round. Assuming they play well. Again, it could be either way because the Rockets could come back, which would be wild. But uh, Warriors Timberwolves is going to be a lot of fun, and then it'll be either Denver, LA, or OKC on the conference finals, and it's the Timberwolves are going to be fun, man. They're a fun team. They didn't shoot well tonight, like I said, and if they did, it would have been a lot scarier for the Lakers tonight. And then LeBron got hurt there for a second. Luka got hurt with the back spasms. And then the Timberwolves were in foul trouble most of the night, too, and it still didn't hurt them. So the Lakers had a chance to, take advantage of the poor shooting from the Timberwolves, and then they just got out hustled on the glass, and that was the end of their season. And now they'll be looking for a big, like we already kind of talked about earlier. So, and Austin Reeves has been struggling lately too. So,
Yeah, he did not play well in these playoffs. You have to wonder now. I mean, there were points in this season and in past seasons where he's like untouchable or whatever. You have to wonder now if maybe he's their avenue to improving the rest of the roster, maybe getting a couple players for one. But he really. Uh, I wouldn't say he cost the Lakers this series, but he was not very helpful in a lot of these situations. So um, yeah. To me though, I was watching this game and thinking about this. There's some Twitter accounts that are very analytical Laker fans, and they always break down these numbers. Um, and it made me think of this during the game. JJ Redick came into this season talking about how good the Lakers were when they ran sets versus not running sets and just freelance the previous year, and he wanted to increase that. And he did that throughout the season, and it worked. Like a lot of times when they ran sets, it was more effective than their freelance. And then you make a trade for a freelance player like Luka, and the the second half of the season and into these playoffs, they almost ran no sets, and so you got to kind of wonder if maybe that was a bit of a factor in how poorly they played in some of these games, and maybe the difference in because a lot of these games were close too. So like maybe they shouldn't have kept running ISO to players who have been playing heavy minutes. That last game when they played the whole second half and stuff,
right.
like it's hard to ISO, and this is what I always say about when we talk about Denny Avdia, like becoming that player where he's consistent like that for whole games. and being a star player or an all-star type. Um, it's when you're constantly having to create and using your strength and trying to get by guys who are playing just insane defense on you, and you have to bring the ball up against pressure every time and do that. That just takes so much effort and so much energy from you. And then to play heavy minutes and then to not like run plays or run any sets or anything like that to get someone open. Um, I think we're maybe seeing a situation where you really need to have some sort of structure, some sort of thing you can go to when players are struggling to shoot the ball, because there's just been way too many offenses in this playoffs, the Lakers included tonight, that just can't hit a shot, and they just keep isoing and they just keep bricking, and they're scoring 96 points in a playoff game, and it's just not going to get it done long term that way.
Definitely not. And Redick also got back to the playing all 5 players in the second half. He got really, I don't know if you saw that, he got really mad when they asked him if.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
He walked out of the thing.
Yeah, he's like, you don't think I talked to my assistant coaches? That was
funny. Well, he said something after the game. This is different than the one he walked out of, but about how well I told the players if they got tired, they could ask out or whatever. Like, they're not going to ask out of a playoff game, right? They're just going to stay in. So, yeah. So, I mean, in his defense, I guess, like, who you're going to put in Gabe Vincent, like.
You're right. And he took that. Gabe Vincent took. I don't know if I like that shot he took at the end there.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, they have a couple of players on their bench that can play some spot minutes, but this is where Pelinka's got to earn his money, because the last 2 off seasons have gone into it where everyone's like, oh, they've got to make some moves, and they've basically done very little since they made the conference finals until the Luka trade. So now you have to make some moves. And I don't really know how you do it without many assets. At least they still have some assets, which they shouldn't have, as we talked about earlier. But you have to make some moves. You have to get at least a couple more rotation players that can play in the playoffs if you're Pelinka. You need someone like Jeremy Grant, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they should be trading for. He'd fix all their problems.
Their rebounding issues,
yeah.
There you go.
Would be even worse. So, man, yeah, that's probably not the guy anymore for them. Yeah, it's probably not the guy for a lot of
What if
teams.
they got Grant? He averaged like 10 rebounds a game. He's just like a monster on the glass.
That'd be wild. That'd be crazy. I think you and Tori would blow a gasket on stream if you saw him doing that, right? All right, let's get to these East playoffs. So the second round is almost set, and we can kind of talk about these series in general. So obviously the Cavs and Heat was. I mean, I chose the Heat, or sorry, I chose the Cavs to win.
You chose the Heat? Wow.
No. I chose the Cavs to win in 5. I thought the Heat would get one game because Spoelstra always does, but not this time around. The Cavs took care of them. Hero said we're not getting swept, and they got
Hero said they were going to get a game too.
Yeah. Oh man, they got absolutely smoked in Game 4. I turned it off after the first quarter, and this is a series I didn't pay much attention to, rightfully so.
Oh, you didn't tune in when you saw they were up 40 something?
Yeah, I actually had the game on.
Make it 50.
Yeah, I had the game on in the first quarter, and I was like watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. I just wanted to go do something else. Yeah, Miami is going to be interesting to watch this offseason on what they decide to do, whether they're just going to continue to tread water like they always do, or does Pat Riley finally, like, trade everybody? I mean, I know people have brought that idea up. I don't think they have enough draft capital to pull off some kind of big trade like Giannis, and everyone always says never doubt Pat Riley, but I haven't really seen him do much lately, so I'm doubting him, I guess. We know very well about Pat Riley in Miami with the whole drama that was going on in the summer. And then we talked about Pacers Bucks, obviously. The Bucks just fall flat and they lose in 5. It would have been interesting to see if they would have been able to tie it. But we talked about that one enough. The Knicks Pistons series, though, has been a ton of fun. And if the Pistons weren't so young, they maybe could have the lead in this series right now, which is the crazy part to think about. Because if the Pistons don't blow the game 1, the Knicks, after trading for Karl-Anthony Towns and then trading 5 firsts for Mikal Bridges, could be going home in round 1 to a young Pistons team. You know how disastrous that would be?
Yeah.
And it's just, and again, even Alex Wolf said it. They got absolutely screwed by the refs there at the end. And I get it. That particular game, they weren't calling a ton of fouls. So, whatever. I've seen the banter back and forth between Knicks and Pistons fans about foul baiting and what's been going on. But that series has been a ton of fun. And once Detroit gets himself another scorer next to Cade Cunningham, they're going to be dangerous, I think, because they got something special brewing over there. And it depends on who the second guy is. If it's someone like, I don't know, if it was, I don't have a good example off the top of my head, but Cade's a baller. And it would be crazy if the Pistons forced a game 7, but they're going back home, so it would not shock me. Eric says most boring series ever. Really? That's interesting. I've had a ton of fun watching the Knicks and Pistons series, unless if you're talking about something else.
Maybe it's behind talking about Cavs Heat.
Yeah, that one was boring. I've had a ton of fun watching Knicks and Pistons, though. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, that series is great. I was glad. I don't really care who wins the series, but
right.
I was glad that the Pistons won to make it at least a little interesting.
Right. And then Celtics Magic, I didn't pay attention to that series enough like I should have, but the Magic obviously threw everything they have at them defensively, but they have no offense.
They actually, you all right?
I don't know.
Brady's dying over there.
I'm dying.
That's how I get sometimes on stream. Just middle of a sentence, I can't get it out. But man, the Magic, I felt like for much of that series, they played the Celtics defensively about as well as they could have,
right.
or about as well as most teams can. And they just do not have the offense to match. And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. With the Lakers, is like some of these teams they just can't get out of their own way. They just ISO way too much, don't have any kind of flow on offense, don't have the shooting needed, and comes back to bite them. You can't win on just defense. So hopefully Cronin sees that when it comes to the Blazers. And I think, dedicating your identity to defense is important, making that your calling card. Good idea, but you do need some scoring too, some creation as well.
Yeah, if the Magic don't get a point guard this offseason, a perimeter shot creator, it would be an absolute travesty. Because everyone was yelling about that last offseason, and they signed KCP, which was nice for shooting, but it just wasn't enough. I think they needed a perimeter shot creator. They decided not to go get one, and that's going to be something they need to do this offseason, whether it's, we've talked about Anthony a lot, how that makes sense. Maybe Trae Young becomes available. I know Trae Young's not everyone's favorite player, but I think that could be an interesting fit. LaMelo became available, but his injury thing. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who Orlando goes after because they need to do something. They can't just stay stagnant again. And not having Suggs definitely hurt them too. That sucked, but at the end of the day, Boston was probably always going to win the series. The Magic just don't have enough yet.
Yep. Going back to that Knicks Pistons, Game 6 is always for the worst record team. So Detroit will have a home game for that, and so you win that, and man, that'll be a fun Game 7 in the Garden. But Pistons still feel like a team that's a couple years away, but um, I don't know. They also kind of feel like the Knicks did, uh, like when they were starting to rise before they made all these moves. But you were right earlier when you said if you would have, you get OG, you trade for McHale, you trade for Cat, you have Brunson still. If you would have said that team at the beginning of the season might lose or struggle with the Pistons in the playoffs, and not because anyone's hurt, that would have been crazy, right?
Yeah, and the Pistons had their chances to have a really good, like they should have the series lead. The first game they blew a big lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they gave up a
So
21-0 run in that quarter. Um, they had the lead in some of the other games they lost as well, and yeah,
unfortunate, but we'll be watching it. I think they play
What-
again tomorrow.
yeah.
So
One side note about the Pistons: did you think Cade deserved Most Improved Player this year, or were you happy that Dyson got it, or did you think
I'm happy
Zubac
that
should have got it, or someone else?
I'm happy that Dyson got it because I know people have different opinions on most improved, but I do agree that I do like it more when it's a player that wasn't a first overall pick or a top lottery pick. Like everyone knew that player was supposed to be good, so I think Dyson Daniels' story is more fun. So I do like that Daniels won it.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's just Cade was healthy for the most part all season for the first time, and
Right, that's true.
and that just allowed him to get a rhythm better. Like obviously, he improved a little bit. The team's a little better, a little bit better pieces around him. You bring in a couple of vets in Tobias, Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley played out of his mind this season, shooting the ball, and that really helped space the floor for him. They still probably need a little bit more shooting, but I feel like uh, I wouldn't have had an issue with him winning, but I also think that he just got kind of naturally better and also better because he was in a little bit better situation than he had been. It wasn't necessarily just going from, man, is this guy even a rotation player to one of the best defensive players in the league slash decent offensive season as well, like Dyson had, right? Because like on the Pelicans, there were games he wasn't even playing
Right.
last year, and now he's starting most of the games and averaging 3 steals a game. So I do agree. I kind of like giving it to a player who had more of a breakout than just, oh, this guy improved like 2 points more per game and has an extra assist, and that's supposed to mean he's like the most improved player in the league.
No.
I don't know what it exactly was, but his stats weren't that much better. Cade's stats in particular weren't that much better than the year before.
Gotcha.
Were
Okay,
they?
what about I don't remember, honestly.
Yeah.
What about Cavs and Pacers? What are you thinking about that series coming up?
Well, the Pacers, I don't know if I can write them off anymore. Like, I know they lost in the conference finals last year, but like pretty much no one thought they were going to make it there, and they did. Um, and so now it's like, I don't know, 2 years in a row, I've kind of not given them a chance, and here they are. But the Cavaliers, man, they've looked so good in that first round. Um, and I think ultimately, as long as Garland's healthy and their core four players are all playing, and then they get contributions from guys like Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, etc. I think they should still be able to pull this out. But much like I was saying with the Timberwolves, I don't know if the Pacers winning this series would necessarily surprise me either.
Right. Well, if you ask Kyle Anderson, apparently the Cavs are better without Darius Garland. I don't know if you saw that. He said that, which was interesting. Very weird, but I think this series is gonna be a ton of fun, and I can't wait to see it unfold. And I can see it going either way. That's the crazy part. But I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna choose Cavs in 6 ultimately to see them get to the conference finals. So we'll see if it works out that way. All right, on to the West. So obviously the Thunder took care of the Grizzlies. Game 3, there was a possibility for the Grizzlies to get a game, which would have made my Thunder in 5 prediction perfect. But Ja Morant gets hurt, and then now the
They blew
Grizzlies.
a 29-point lead.
Yeah, and the Grizzlies were saying, well, I think Scottie Pippen said it, Ja Morant said it. If I didn't get injured, I had them figured out, which is kind of funny to say. So I don't. They said they would tie the series or whatever, but the Thunder are just too good. I don't think it would have really mattered at the end of the day. And the Thunder will be awaiting, whoever wins from Nuggets and Clippers, which has been a very fun series as well. What's crazy, and I really hate this, is that day that Aaron Gordon had that tip and dunk.
Mm-hmm.
I randomly that day got sick. I don't know why, but I got dizzy for no reason all of a sudden during the day. I think I was dehydrated. And
did Aaron Gordon make you sick?
Yeah, maybe. No, but it was before the game. I fell asleep, so I didn't even see the game at all. I actually napped through the game, and I think I turned on the game that night. And then, so I went to check the score, and I saw in the play-by-play, Aaron Gordon tip in game winner or tip in dunk or whatever, put back dunk or whatever. And I was like, wow, I really missed that. That sucks. So, but it's been a fun series, man. Kawhi had a nuclear game. James Harden's been good. Zubac. I mean, there's just a ton of, and Jamal Murray's had 40. It's been a lot, and Russell Westbrook's had great moments as well. So it's been a fun series, and I'm hoping to see it go to 7. I'm hoping the Clippers tie it up.
Yeah, absolutely. We need one of these series to go 7.
I know.
But no, dude, that game, it was so like for the whole first half, I felt like, and then like part of the third quarter, it was like the rest of the series had been up to that point. It was like back and forth. Anyone's going to win this game. Like very, very close. And then the Nuggets just blow it open in the second half, go up 22. And my wife and daughter and I were getting ready to go out to dinner. And so Nuggets go up 22. I'm like, okay, this game's over. We can leave. Go up to get ready. Come back down. I felt like it was like 5 minutes later, and the Clippers are winning, and I'm like, what the heck? So much like you, I missed it, and I was like, what the heck? And so then, of course, I was like, okay, we got to watch the rest of this game, right? And so I'm sitting there watching it, and I forgot who hit the shot to put the Clippers up, and then Jokic had that turnaround to put Nuggets up, and then Zubac had the tip in to tie it again. And then there was like 8 seconds left, and my wife just like turns off the TV. I was like, okay, are we going? And I was like, no. I turned the game on, and they're all like Gordon's running down the tunnel, and I'm like, no, you just made me miss the end of the game. And so, like, obviously they replayed it like 100 times, but right. I would have liked to known, not
Live
seeing the slow-mo replay, like if I would have thought it was good or not, just based off that. But yeah, then so they bring back everyone to the court, and there's this long review, and man, that's crazy how like point 1 you can see the ball still in his hands. The light's like starting to come on, but not on completely on the backboard if you pause it at point 1. And then at 1 frame later, it's 0, and the ball's out of his hands. The light's fully on. Oh, man. I don't know if that was one of those things where you just stick with whatever call you called on the floor because it was so close. But, man, like, yeah, either way, it would have been crazy. But if they go on and win this series, it's it's like the slimmest of margins of all time
Yeah.
that they won it by, you know? 'Cause that would have been a 3-1, and the series would have been pretty much over at this point, you know?
Yeah, probably. Well, maybe not for the Nuggets because they like to come back from 3-1 deficits.
True.
So you never know with them. We talked about Lakers Wolves a little bit. Obviously, most of the games were pretty good.
Mhm.
I think it was game 4 was pretty awesome. Reeves, I think, missed the game winner at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was an awesome game. And then Rockets Warriors has been a ton of fun as well. That game the other night where there was just so much physicality and Brooks and Jimmy Butler talking back and forth to free throw.
Yeah.
And that was so much fun. And when Jimmy Butler went to foul him, he did that he hit him so hard on purpose, but he did it in like the most legal way possible to where they couldn't call anything. But
Yeah.
he hit his arm with force, and and it's just so funny. Draymond and everything that's. I thought Draymond was gonna get ejected too, but I guess a flagrant doesn't count towards a technical, and for a moment it looked like he was walking off the court to get ejected. But it's been fun. Jalen Green has been miserable outside of game 2. He's been so bad. I think he had a better game tonight, but again, I didn't really pay attention to how much of a blowout it was for the most part. But game 6 back in Golden State. We'll see if the Warriors decide to win that at 6 or if a game 7 is going to happen. Steve Kerr decided to pull the plug, which is something he's often done before. So I wasn't surprised to see them pull the plug at the 5-minute mark in the third quarter. But I can't wait to see how these two series will unfold because either way, I think Clippers and Thunder would be a ton of fun just for the, Shea versus his former team and all that. That'd be cool. And then Jokic versus Shea, the 2 MVP frontrunners. That would be a ton of fun as well. And I've talked about it, but I think Warriors and Wolves would be awesome if that happened.
Yeah, that'd be a great series. As would I think Warriors Lakers would have been a good series as well. But yeah, Wolves Warriors, can Jimmy and Draymond slow down Edwards?
Or Gobert.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Gobert. Is Gobert going to score 20 some points again?
Draymond would never let that happen, I don't think. He would make sure they're both ejected before he let that happen.
Mm-hmm. But no, these series are going to be awesome. Also, like, even if the Thunder destroy people, it's still like interesting to think about, like, are they going to be able to, because they've just been dominant all season. Like, can they keep it up as these playoff series go further? Will they lose like they did last year in this situation? Yeah, it's fascinating stuff, man. And I'm glad, like, this season has been just a crap fest on the NBA and the game itself. Like, it seems like that was the storyline all season about the NBA, was how bad the product is, how no one's watching, and all this stuff. So it's been very, very refreshing to see that the playoffs have turned out a little bit different, and they're getting some pretty good ratings on these series and stuff. Now that the Lakers are out, I'm guessing the ratings won't quite be as good this next series, but man, there should be some good basketball, and I think, as Wise Zebra says in chat, the physicality has been great.
Absolutely.
There's been chippiness. There's been, I don't know, it just feels like conflict and feels like battles, like it feels right. Yeah, like it feels like these are playoff series and stuff. And that's why I really want some of these to go 7, just so we can have that. But these games have been entertaining, and I'm glad people have been watching them.
Yeah, like literally that stretch, and I don't remember which game it was, but I think it was, I can't remember, but that stretch for Knicks Pistons where it felt like it was like a 3-minute stretch where they just kept driving to the basket and they were just getting absolutely hacked, but
Yeah.
nothing was being called, and it just kept going back and forth. It was cinema. I loved it. That's like what we need, and it was so much fun, which is why the NBA playoffs are so beautiful when refs aren't calling stuff like that. It's just so much fun, man. It's the best time of basketball. Bucks Pacers legit rivalry now, says Alex Wolf, which but we'll see what the Bucks look like going to next year.
Yeah, it might not be. Might be a one-sided rivalry.
Yeah, the Pacers might have their number, which they do at this point. Which sucks because obviously with the cheapness happening, we're most of us rooting for the Bucks, so I don't necessarily hate the Pacers or I hate Halliburton, but just like back then when I didn't hate Westbrook necessarily, but they're the enemy for now, which is why you're rooting against them and don't like them at that moment. But I have a ton of respect for those guys. It's just, I hated seeing Halliburton get that game winner like that, and it was just brutal stuff, man.
I do want to give Halliburton some props for saying what his dad did was wrong and that he didn't think that was appropriate or whatever. So shout out to him for not just saying, no, it's my dad, I'm going to defend him, and actually saying that he can't be doing that stuff. So, what he should, like, dude, why are you letting him on? Like, why is he allowed to come on the court anyway?
I don't know why he was out there.
That could have been bad, man.
That could have been.
Like a lot of players in this league, I don't think they're just standing there like Giannis did. Like, I think some people are swinging. Imagine if that was like Isaiah Stewart or something.
Oh my gosh.
We're talking about Halliburton being dead, like his dad being dead right now,
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh, my voice is getting killed right now. But yeah, no, that would not have gone well if Stewart that would have been crazy. But very, very weird. I don't know why that happened. And I think his dad released an explanation video, but I haven't watched it yet. So I don't know what his side of the story is, but I don't even know if I'm going to watch it. Because I don't think Giannis has any reason to lie about, and Giannis didn't really fully go in depth what he said. But, I felt like Giannis's response was pretty good, where he thought it was just a random fan at the moment. And then when he saw it was his dad, that's when he went up to his face. So, Dame's brother ran on the court after. I mean, that's not the same thing, though. That's not even remotely the same thing.
Well, I mean, it happened. It literally happened. The pile was right in front of him on courtside. Dame and his sister.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would be.
Sister.
Yeah, but I also don't think anybody would be complaining about Halliburton's dad going to the court if he just celebrated with Halliburton. He went up to talk to Giannis. Like, that's different, in my opinion.
In my opinion, once the buzzer sounds, I mean, this is at college where you storm the court. Like, no one should be allowed on the court until at least the opposing team has a chance to leave the court,
Yeah, I agree, but I just don't think that's the same thing. But whatever. Everyone has their own opinion, I guess. All right. This is the schedule's coming up. So Pistons and Knicks tomorrow, which should be a ton of fun, and then Clippers and Nuggets. You guys, it's different. It's weird for me to look at it like this because your guys' time zone is so much different than mine, obviously.
Yeah.
But
just add 2 hours to all of it.
Yeah, 6:30 and 9 for me. And then Friday, I don't know if that time's been determined yet for Rockets and Warriors. I imagine it probably has at this point. I could pull it up really quickly. Yeah, 8 p.m. Well, 8 p.m. for me, 6 for you guys on ESPN.
Nice. That's Friday night?
Yeah, Friday night. So
nice.
But unless if you have anything else to add, I think that's all I got.
No, I appreciate everyone for watching this episode of Hoops Crush. You guys been liking it being live versus recorded, so you can interact with us a little bit and we can read chat and stuff. Do you guys feel like it's better? It's certainly easier probably for Brady not to have to edit it and put it out the next day.
Yeah, and there's still some things I need to get going here because the collab cam lagging out, my mic. So eventually this is going to become as close to a perfect product as we can make it, hopefully. So there's still some things we're working towards. I think we've made a huge improvement to last week, though, so I'll take that at
Yeah,
least.
absolutely.
So,
But thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you all, and hope you have a good night. We'll have Blazers Uprise live after the game, after the Clippers Nuggets game tomorrow night, and then so the plan for Brady and I is to, they're probably knowing our family situation and everything. There'll probably be some Wednesdays we can't do it, or there might be some Wednesdays where there's nothing going on throughout the summer. But I think we're going to try to put these out every Wednesday if possible.
that's the plan. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Peace out. Go Blazers.